Hey, welcome to the Road and Morale podcast. So, do you ever feel like screaming out in the office, on Zoom, or outside the school gates? For the love of God, come on, really? Then, if this is you and you're looking for an honest, fun, and frank podcast on life and business, then sit back and listen to me, Rona Morale. I'll be bringing great people on the show to talk, share, and debate their life experiences and business challenges, keeping the show unpolished, but in a fun and unique British style, with sarcasm, tenacity, or maybe a few swear words or tears. This podcast keeps it real, honest, raw, and removes the bullshit in the only way I know how, through authenticity and getting shit done. Think of it less like the Housewives of New York or Towie with the lipo and drama, and more like the house lives of the real world. I hope you'll take something away to be better informed, laugh, smile, or maybe even finally getting the confidence to shout, come on really. So enjoy. Hi Lucy, welcome to the Road and Morale podcast. How are you today?
I'm good, thanks, Rona. How are you doing?
I'm okay after a bit of a windy start dropping the kids off this morning, but I'm good.
It is a bit rainy out there, not much fun.
No, not at all. Although it's beautifully and sunny here, so I'll take that. So to the wonderful listeners, I'd like to introduce you to Lucy Rissik. Now, Lucy is the director and co-founder of Brotherhood of Brands, which we will talk a bit more about later, and also plays a critical role in a non-for-profit organisation called Women in Games. And so we'll touch on that as well later. But in a nutshell, I guess, you know, there's around 46% in the whole gaming world that are girls and women that aren't reflected from a leadership and executive point of view. So we'll probably chat about that later and what you do. You previously worked at Children in Need, which is incredible. Yes. And you've always worked in the electronic arts. And I have to confess right now, I never knew what EA stood for. Does that make me, you know, I'm 43 years of age, that makes me sound really stupid.
I don't think they really talk about it. It's from really when they set up in the 80s. And the reason is, there's actually a real reason for this, is that they wanted to make the artists, the people who actually make the games, very much like they are in the movie industry, where people talk about the directors and the producers and things. And EA actually did it as in a way to kind of celebrate the people behind the games and say they're actually electronic artists. And
amazing.
It's actually quite cool. But no, I mean, very few people know it's called.
Well, hopefully more people will know about it now. And it'll be like one of those memes when you go, what age were we when you found out EA meant electronic art? Yeah. So today, really, we're going to chat about how EA and gaming has kind of been a bit of a winner in lockdown in terms of growth. Talk about gaming and the impacts of women, specifically in children, but how you work in terms of Brotherhood of Brands and you're engaging brands with that gaming world, and those that are really embracing it and those that aren't. So hopefully if there's ever any brand directors or brands listening to this, we'll give them a nice flavour of the opportunity, because correct me if I'm wrong, next year the opportunity is about 200 billion, the size of the market.
Yeah. So next year the whole industry will have grown to about $200 billion, which is absolutely huge. I mean, previously in the UK, it's been a $5 billion industry anyway, for £5 billion industry, but it really has grown. And across the whole of the UK, I think we've seen a 49% growth of the games industry during this year because of lockdown, and people are looking for different ways of entertainment. And what's also amazing is actually the games industry has been able to carry on creating content through lockdown, which is very different to film and TV and all that sort of side of it that you see. And obviously, like, we're all sitting there at home going through Netflix or Amazon or wherever, going, where's the next movie or the next thing? And what the games industry has been able to do is just carry on because of everyone can work from home.
Yeah.
So it has definitely, I mean, you know, you're talking about being one of those kind of winners at this moment. And actually, to be honest as well, jobs-wise, if people are looking for jobs, there are so many opportunities actually in the games industry as well out there, and I would definitely recommend getting in and looking for all different jobs. You know, it's not.
So what sort of? Let's make that real for some of the for some of the listeners. I mean, for someone out there who maybe has an interest in it, or you know, is currently being made redundant. What sort of opportunities are there?
Oh, I think there's everything. I think the problem is people look at the games industry as being this like 14-year-old boy in a darkened bedroom, and it really isn't that. what the games industry, as you mentioned, it's 46% female. Games industry is everything from a mobile, you play words with friends, you are a gamer, right? That's when people usually go, I'm not a gamer, I do Candy Crush. No, you're playing video games. And it goes from everything from that to, you know, the extreme of war games or, you know, first person shooters, and then all the way to esports, you know, where people are making money for playing games. So the industry is huge as it is. But with that, there's also opportunities, and it really is. If you go on and you sort of look into on some of the big publishers' websites, they literally will have opportunities from marketing to HR to finance to coding, art design in a game to producing in a game, everything. I mean,
so are there certain websites then that you could go on and search for specifically those roles?
I don't know whether it still does all the full list, but there's one called gamesindustry.biz that used to always have tons of jobs on. And if not, there are some really big recruiters in the area. So Aardvark Swift, Datascope, and there's probably some others that I've forgotten, but that sort of thing. But if not, I'd definitely go on to sort of the big publishers. So when I'm talking about publishers, I'm talking about like EA or an Activision or a Ubisoft. I'd go onto their websites because of everything that I'm seeing is coming up. And actually, it's a quick one. Women in Games, we have a LinkedIn group and we have a Facebook group. And if you go onto those, people post loads of jobs on them because they know there's loads of women out there who want to get into the industry and things like that.
So great. So if we go onto LinkedIn, follow Women in Games, and then also on Facebook. Games,
you'll find us on our group. It's to go into the group is the best thing, and there's tons of people there looking.
Yeah, because I think of my, you know, younger daughter who's sort of 7, and you know, I always say to her, look, you know, 6 of the most successful, unfortunately, men in the world, 5 of them all started coding, and they have that skill set, and she's really quite good at it. So I'm trying to nurture that balance between encouraging her to do it and not be panicked about the amount of time she's spending on it.
I think it's a hard balance with that, and I think that you do have to obviously have a balance, right? So, you know, I do work in video games, and actually my husband does, and we have a lot of video games in the house, and I have kids. So, you know, I do understand the balance of everything. But I think with what I would say is that going and learning coding is a fantastic thing, and there are some great programs out there. And actually, I would recommend to you as well. There's a not-for-profit called, I don't know, called Into Games. Into Games.
Right.
And they work with BAFTA quite a lot. And they actually run a mentor program. And they take kids from about, it's a bit sort of 13, but if you, very often kids do a coding course at school, and then they're left to it. And so what these guys do, and they organise game jams for people to having a go, but they provide a very simple tool for people to be able to do it. And actually under 10, you can print off a sheet and write what you'd think a game should be, and enter the game jam, which is really cute. But they provide mentors. They do some amazing things with encouraging more young people into the industry. And actually with Women in Games, we've been working with them because obviously women are the big part of that. And the only way we're going to get more women into the games industry is, you know, it's either bringing them from outside the industry or actually, you know, getting them young and also going, let's do it. It's cool, rather than, you know, people think it is 14-year-old boys in bedrooms.
So tell me a little bit more about Women in Games and what really it's all about.
Yeah, of course. So Women in Games is a not-for-profit that is all about, the mission is to have equity and parity within the games industry for women. So we're very much focused on that. It's been going for about 11 years, but I think we've now at such a great point. We've got some amazing corporate ambassadors. We have individual ambassadors. We have over 340 countries.
Wow.
Who are women out there who are trying to spread the word and kind of encourage more women into the industry. And we recently just did our conference at the beginning of September. So we usually have an annual conference that's a live event, like everyone does these days. And we turned it virtual. We had 1,000 people register. So, and you know, it was incredible. We covered so much interesting information. We had stories told by people from within the industry. We did stuff about transclusivity, because that's really important as well with how people are represented in games. We talked as well, there's one of our big partners at the moment is Gillette Venus, which sounds really random because it's a razor, but Gillette and the men's brands has been in the video games industry for a long time, and the women's side has sort of woken up and gone, 46% of women, as we said, play games, let's do some. And what they've done is they've added some special skins into Animal Crossing that are all kind of like different skin types. And when I say that, you can make your character have, like, say, eczema, like you might have.
Yeah.
And you could have your character have vitiligo, or even, you know, tattoos, or all sorts of different things. It's amazing. They've actually done it in a really, you know, looking at people with different skin conditions, disorders, you know, so people can embrace what you actually look like. And it's amazing what they've done. So we got them to talk at the conference as well.
And that's a great idea, because I remember once when the girls were playing with Lego, and we'd broken one of them, one of the legs fell off. And my youngest was like, "Oh, I can't fix this. We're just going to have to get rid of it." I went, "Well, if you lost a leg tomorrow, would I get rid of you?"
Yeah.
No, let's just incorporate that as part of life. It is just the way it is.
Oh, totally. And I think that what's really nice is that it's actually happened. But what I think is really interesting is the fact it's had to be someone from outside the industry that's come in and done it. And actually having this sort of non-game brand do it is really, or encouraged to do it. They've sort of got someone to make this stuff. And I think that's interesting, because it actually shows however much the video games industry is huge, and it is. It's bigger than the movie and the music industry combined.
Wow, that's
Huge.
quite a showstopper.
Yeah, it's big. It's still got so much. It's still like learning. And, you know, particularly when you look at women in games, like, women aren't all built like Lara Croft. So, you know, they're not. What's really nice with this is also embracing women aren't built like that. And there are games that are trying to do that and say, do you know what? People are all different things, you know, races, sexes, genders. They have different sexual orientations. And Last of Us 2 came out recently with actually a same-sex relationship in it as the main characters. Fantastic. But, you know, and what's great with the Women in Games work is that we're trying to encourage more of this kind of inclusivity, and sort of, you know, how can we help support people to do this? And actually, from my point of view, is that you're never going to get it in the game until you kind of look at your workforce too. So if the people making the game are all middle-aged white blokes, then you're going to get a middle-aged white blokes version of what a woman looks like, right? in the game. So I think it's good to have a variety of people that are making the games, or people that just kind of adapt things or look at things and sort of think, actually, do you know what? Women don't look like they are all on R&B movies or on Instagram, you know. Men don't look at video games. There's no reason women should. So
why do you think there's this kind of, I mean, we could argue that, you know, kind of females in exec roles is massively underrepresented, and not just women, like you say, disabilities, colours, creeds, religions. But why do you think there's such a blocker in your industry?
I think it's probably been it's the funnel. So getting women into the industry, because there are some amazing women who are in very senior positions, without a doubt. And there are some women who've done some amazing things. But I think it's because, and I feel we need to do that, it's a massive education piece of people sitting there thinking, well, you know, games, oh no. And maybe as well, to be honest now, there is a serious parental backlash against video games.
Yeah.
And I think that perhaps parents, you know, we need to look at it, and maybe we need to be looking at it in a different way and going, look, this is a multi-million-dollar industry. It's not going anywhere.
No.
Also, like, it's playground fodder. Like, kids, and you know, it's water cooler moments for kids.
Yeah.
You know, and during lockdown, actually, it was a real positive, because I know for my son, like, he's not the best at texting friends. I mean, he's 13, he's not the best at doing that. But he could go online and play with his friends. And actually, it's an incredible social tool, sitting in your sitting room or wherever. And that's what, you know, you need to, although we're all trying to protect our kids and everything else, but also embrace it for them as a tool to speak to their friends.
Yeah, and I think we've gone from a world where, you know, you disappear at 8 a.m. and come home at tea time, and, you know, be on your bikes or at the park or whatever. And now it just feels like there's the dark side to the internet and the world of gaming. And so you can't, I think it's easy to say you can't protect them. However, you know, go on, I look at my eldest's phone, I'm on her Instagram. I say to Alicia, if I hear her talking, who are you talking to? I'm talking to such and such. Okay, that's fine. But when I went on and checked, she had all these friend requests, and people she had no idea they were, so we deleted them.
No, I totally agree with you. So I'm with you. I have the same. As I said, I've got a 13-year-old son. I've also got a 14-year-old daughter, and without a doubt, we have certain rules, which is that there's a phone amnesty downstairs. Phones don't go to bed. Like phones always stay downstairs. And they don't seem to question that their phones charge downstairs, but ours don't. So I'm happy to live with that for a while. But the other thing is that ultimately they can have passcodes. They're not allowed to change them. If they do change them, the phone goes. It's that kind of thing. And very much like you, I go through Instagram, not all the time, but one of those ones going, and my feeling is you have to physically know the person, or they'd have to be like, oh, it's my friend Rose's friend Lily who goes the same. There has to be a physical link. I'd have to know that you could go and see that person. And actually it works the same with games, because of obviously they can play online on games, and my son has the same rules on his Xbox.
Right.
Is to physically know the people to play with them. Anyone else? And we've sat there. The other thing is we have his Xbox downstairs. Like, it's downstairs. It's not in his bedroom. And that's me personally. I don't want him to feel shut away. So, he's just around the corner from the kitchen. If I'm cooking dinner, I might pop in and see him or something like that. But that to me is really important, that he can, we can still have that connection. And I can walk in at any moment. And it'll be like, who are you playing with? I think those are important. The other thing that people see a lot about people talking about games and how they're not so good for the kids, and a lot of people talk about anger issues with their kids. I don't know whether you've seen this.
Yes, definitely.
And I realise that there are definitely, I don't know whether you've seen the Netflix thing recently about the social dilemma.
No, but it's on my plan for this afternoon.
Definitely watch it. It talks about the dopamine effect. And we were trying, I had chats with my husband about going, do you think many of these games have that? And he said, well, the only one he could think of was like Candy Crush, actually. You feel like you've got to keep going. And I'm wondering whether there might be a slight bit in this, unfortunately. But the one thing I would say is that whatever you are doing as a parent, don't ever just walk in and turn the machine off. That is when you're going to get an angry child. You're better off just sitting with them and going, I'll watch with you till the end of this game and then we'll turn it off. Because the amount of people I know who go, no, I've just turned the Wi-Fi off. Oh my good God, no wonder you're going to have like issues with your child. You've turned the Wi-Fi off. I'd be annoyed.
Although I also find that, like you say, engaging with the tech and having a go and trying to play it, and then they laugh at you because clearly you're quite crap. I mean, you're in that game, but I find that's a good way to know what they're doing. So if they want an app or a game, I have to sit and play it first. So for ages, I wouldn't let my eldest have TikTok. And every time we sat down and watched something, it was like, F this. And I was like, hey, but then I thought, you're going to secondary school in a couple of weeks, you're going to hear all these words. So I've just got to embrace and trust her with it. But
I think there is a certain element of trusting your kids as well, and I think there's ways of being present. And as you said, playing the games with them makes a difference. And actually with video games, a lot of parents don't seem to understand that the age ratings are actually age ratings. It's not like a guidance. It's not like, oh, yeah, this game kind of works for age 13. No, it means 13 plus.
Yeah.
And that happens a lot. And, you hear about, oh, yeah, no, I was playing GTA. And it's like this 10-year-olds and you're like, oh, God. So, as parents, you do have to take some responsibility.
And that's when it gets hard, because you've got your kids going, well, this is a 13, but all my mates are playing it. And you're like, well, that might be all of your mates. But the reality is, we'll sit down and have a look at this game. But
I think that's
it's 13 for a reason.
No, totally. And I think it's also us understanding what they are. So like if you see a game that's a 16, it usually means there's blood in it. And that's what turns it into a 16. Blood and swearing usually goes from 16. Be mild swearing and teen, but to go from... So that's why, I don't know if you've ever seen, you've got the Lego games, which you can shoot each other and the bricks just fall apart. They're very cute, but some of them are 12 because they fall apart and you can kind of shoot them. But it would be a 16 if there was blood.
See, it's weird because we could sit here and watch something on TV and something fall apart, or a rhino with its horn hacked off, and that's real. That's real.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't necessarily hide that from a kid. So I think that's why I get what you're saying. There's an age for a reason. But if I look at my child, can she cope with something falling apart or blood?
Yeah. No, and actually, to be honest, you are very right. So I do think that, maybe don't give an 18 game to a 10-year-old, but
No.
but I think there's a certain element of common sense. I mean, being a parent, there is always a certain element where you sit there and you assess things. But I think as key as just like embracing the technology, embracing the games, as you said, having a look, playing it with them, seeing what they're doing.
I
And
think as adults now, our history and our parents' history has always been getting out, being active, and all of this. Whereas if I let my youngest, she would literally sit on it from the moment she woke up, shoving brioche in her face, till the end of the day. And she would, and she only plays Roblox and Minecraft.
bless her.
But she's absolutely obsessed. And when we talk about anger, it's not that she becomes more angry, it's the attitude that comes to, right, you've got 10 minutes, you've got 5, you've got 2, switch it off. Oh yeah, but rah. And you're like, that's the
I know
fear. It's like,
that's
you're that
hard.
addicted.
No, it is. I think there is an element. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are certain games which have different things built into them. I think it is hard. And I don't think there's an easy answer to any of this either. I think it's very much us kind of going as parents. I think that the time I don't like it is when people don't look at any of it or just will switch something off. I mean, I've always been like you. I've always done the old countdown thing. Um, give some time, let them know what's going on.
Yeah.
But I think it isn't easy, and bless her, it's. I also think it's great because in many ways, sorry, but it sounds like you've got a real girl gamer on your hands, and isn't that exciting? And someone that potentially is going to go into the industry, and
It
that's
is
all
for sure.
say, isn't it?
No, because to be fair, I do talk to her about that and sort of say, this could be a career for you, and why don't we look at maybe getting some more coding stuff. But yeah, I guess, look, it's a huge topic, and everyone's parenting is very, very different. But as you say, it's such a massive industry, and it's such an influence on our children. Gaming and social media is just huge. So I guess flipping it on from that, you obviously, as a director and co-founder of Brotherhood of Brands, what made you create that company? What was the opportunity, and how are brands doing it really well, and which ones really aren't, or recognizing the opportunity?
So I started Brotherhood of Brands about a year ago. I was still working with EA up until that point, and I left, set up the company with actually a business partner at the time, although he's since left, just because of we had some contact, very much like everyone, we had some contracts go for coronavirus. So he got an opportunity elsewhere, but I decided this is really what I want to do. But what it is that I've worked in the brand partnership industry for 10 years, mainly focusing on video games. And it's something I've realized I really love. And I think as I've kind of moved through my career, I've developed my thinking, my way of doing it. And I think that's what I really wanted to go off and do with Brotherhood Brands, is kind of, I wrote a strategy for our team in EA, and I was like, no, this is almost like I was like doing it, I was going, this is pretty much like my mission statement or something. I should be doing something with it. And I was lucky enough to, when I left EA stayed as my client. So I was working on Need for Speed with EA, and I took that with me when we left, and managed to finish off sort of some amazing partnership projects with that. And what this was to do with as well. So I have a strong belief in relevance and authenticity. So is the key and to partnerships. And you see a lot of brand partnerships. Film companies are really bad at doing this, and I have to say, where you see a film slapped onto a washing powder or kitchen,
and you go, why?
And you sort of go, and to me, it's sort of saying, like, you don't know your audience. What is it saying about you? And if you're expecting, it doesn't say anything to me. What are you doing? You're just doing it because you want the numbers. So the way I look at it about is actually, it's not necessarily about that big numbers. You can do the big numbers, but do it in the right way. And what it's actually to do with is getting to that relevant audience. We all consume media very differently these days.
Yeah.
We are very honed in to our own kind of personal space. I mean, your Facebook feeds, your Instagram, everything is actually solely for you these days. No one else is the same. So if we're looking to go into certain audiences, we need to make sure that we are talking to the brands that they listen to, or engaging with. and really sort of putting ourselves in there. So what we did for Need for Speed was Need for Speed's had an average age of player of 35.
Right.
And they realized that obviously they want to bring that down because of, you want to keep getting new players in to enjoy the game. And so what we did was we look at sort of culture inside the game, culture outside the game. Culture is usually made up of different fashion, art, and music. So there was a music team that went off and sort of did the music, but I got involved with putting fashion into the game. So
Right.
we had 14 different streetwear brands put into the game. We worked with Ends Clothing, who are a big male streetwear brand, who are fantastic. But we ended up with everything from Adidas Originals to Marcello Bellon to Givenchy to Rick Owens, Kappa. I mean, it was a fantastic mix. And we put them in. We did a shoe deal with Puma that was in the game. The shoes that character can wear it, and then it lives outside the game. And then we also got to do some amazing stuff, like work with some street artists.
Awesome.
So we took the car that's on the cover of the game, we got it all modified, so it looked amazing. And then I got a street artist to paint it, and we exhibited it at Art Basel, which is the big art show in Miami.
Yeah.
But what it does is it shows, virtual to real, but also like video games living outside. This is games living in culture.
Yeah.
So I'm very passionate. I really love what I do, as you can tell. But there are some amazing things going on at the moment. I must admit, there is. I think what's really interesting is the big fashion houses and how they're starting to embrace video games.
Right.
So League of Legends, about 6 months ago plus, worked with Louis Vuitton. We've got Gucci are now in bed kind of thing with Fnatic, who are an esports team.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting. And then this week, I don't know if you saw, but obviously it's London Fashion Week, and Burberry did their fashion show on Twitch, which is the game streaming platform, rather than anywhere else. And I think that's really, it's great.
The shift.
Yeah, they're really embracing it, and I find it amazing when.
Do you think COVID, in a way, has forced more brands to think of virtual gaming, all the opportunities?
Yeah, totally. I think, and I think they're sort of really realizing, actually, you know what? These things are in people's houses and they're playing them. Why are we not in there? And I mean, during the lockdown as well, Travis Scott did an amazing concert inside Fortnite. So you're suddenly seeing it talked about a lot more in press.
Right.
And I think people are sort of going, oh, hang on a second. And I think people are starting to realize video gamers are actually consumers as well. People who play video games don't just play video games. They buy fashion and they buy stuff. And,
Exactly.
They're more of a rounded person. So
I think relevance is massively important. I've seen many kind of brand connections with things over the years in my career history, and you've just gone, that doesn't make any sense. Why would you go down that route? What's it talking about? What's it saying about? So it is frustrating. So if there was kind of brands out there listening and industries, what's the biggest opportunity that you could say to them? Look, you need to have this as part of the marketing mix. What is it?
Totally. So the theory is right now, if you do not have a video games strategy in 2020, it's like not having a social media strategy in 2010. The games industry is only going to increase. It's only going to get bigger. So I would 100% actually be looking at the games industry.
Yeah.
This year we've got 2 next gen consoles coming out. PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X are coming out in November. It's going to be a huge resurgence, but also they're the only ones making content at the moment.
Right.
Really, I think there's huge opportunities. And you know what, as I said, it's so diverse. You are making a specialist product. Without doubt, there is an audience for it within the games industry who would be there. And I think sometimes brands look very linear. They see things that are right in front. I mean, you must have seen it over the years as well. I remember working with different movie companies or whatever and studios, and they'd be like, no, we're only going to do this if you do magazine advertising as well. And I remember thinking, my good God, that, what about digital? We can do all this on social and that and this. And they're like, oh no, we want you to do that. And you think you're just looking at it in backwards. You need to be looking forwards and looking at what else is out there. So
no, absolutely. It's quite scary. I mean, even if I'm self-reflecting now, and I think with some of the clients I work with, would I have necessarily thought about that as as a strategy, probably not, if I'm honest. I've worked with clothing and lighting and drinks and all sorts, but I suppose reflecting back on my days with Red Bull, of course, that's something that they did. They created content and they've done all of that.
Red Bull's fantastic. They've really embraced the games industry, to be honest. They've done loads. I've worked with Red Bull at different points as well. So Red Bull's an anomaly company on its own, though, isn't it, really? I mean, the amazing stuff that it's done, it's so diverse.
Yeah, but it's kind of saying, it's a bit like the stat that you just meant, like not having it in 2020 is like not having social in 2010. It's how do we change the mindset of the commercial and the marketeers in the industries to say this is a genuine opportunity for consumption, for awareness, brand loyalty, all of those things that they all get marked on and sit there and try and achieve. So what would be the best way of starting that journey? If I'm a brand manager now, where do I pick up the phone and go, how do I make this happen?
Other than to me, Rona.
Obviously.
No, but do you know what? I think it's having a little look out there. I think it's probably, going to the games press, seeing what's going on. But I think it is sort of having a look at the top 10 games, see how much they're selling. Also, that will show you how big an industry it is and everything else. The gamers are the most loyal audience you'll have. I mean, they're also, they like to bitch and everything else, but they're very loyal.
Yeah.
But I think it's probably, it's going out there and learning a bit more. It's going out there and getting advice or whatever. And I know it's very simple, but, I know I'm someone, I love learning. So I love learning about new industries and everything else. And I know when I do, I kind of absorb myself in. So, it is, look at their press, look at influencers.
Yeah.
Learn a little bit about esports. There are tons of webinars out there as well about things. There's tons of information. Even younger, there's some amazing university courses now about video games. But I think it's absorbing yourself in that world.
And I think it's like you say, it's just being naturally inquisitive and just asking questions and finding out, because as an owner of a product or even a service, you'll soon find where your relevance fits when you start investigating.
Totally, you're right. And I think that it's very easy to go, this is the biggest, we should do it, as we said, but it's not always about, we should all be in FIFA, because you're not going to necessarily get the right audience. You might be better off going to, looking for a different path, a different game. And I mean, look, I'm someone, when I do partnerships, what I do is I like to marry up values. So I work out a brand's values. What do you believe in? You believe in global sustainability. Right, so let's look for those games that also have those values. Yeah. And that's what I do, sort of the opposite way. I start it with a video game, go, right, what are the game's attributes, the values and everything, and we find brands that work with them.
Yeah.
And that's the best way of doing it. That's where you get your relevance.
Okay.
You can see and go, right, no, there is reasons why we're working for this, that, and the other, because of marrying those ones.
Definitely. So with the success of the global pandemic on the world of gaming,
horrible, doesn't it?
But you know what, let's celebrate that, because there's a lot of negativity at the moment, and it's really tough out there. So
it is. And I think that
look at the positive side. What could this mean for the future of awareness of the gaming industry? Are you excited by that?
Yeah, no, totally excited. And I think it will massively help the industry, without a doubt. I mean, I think, probably more people have played games. Actually, do you know what the pandemic did? Is it started people on small games, like things like Kahoot. Have you done Kahoot quizzes?
No.
Right. But basically we did it as a family of 4. We all chose a quiz. We all did a quiz, made our own quizzes up. And there's this amazing game called Kahoot, and they use it actually in schools as well. And it's like a multiple choice type quiz, but you can create little quizzes for each other and share them. And I think it's those things that have come out from the industry where you kind of gone, oh, look, there's that will keep us entertained. We'll make a quiz. Or there's another one called Jackbox, which you can even do on your PC, which is similar. And you can do sort of, it's like ad libs type thing, or, do little games. And I know we played tons of the Ellen Psych game as well, which is, again, what do you think this word means? Or And I think maybe what it is this sort of very casual family market will mean it starts trickling in.
It's
So
kind of a moment of discovery, isn't it?
Yeah, people will start going, actually, I think hopefully what it will mean for the future is people are embracing video games more, and they're seeing that actually, there's this side of it, which is that kind of lovely family games. We can do family game night together. And let's face it, we're all bored of playing the same Monopoly, or I don't know whether your house is. We've gone through the board games quite a few times. Still classic, don't get me wrong. It's always good. But, to have something different. And then it's also, hopefully, people have realised it's a massive social tool.
But I think as well, it's interesting what you said at the very start around, we have this impression of, teenagers locked in their room with a pile of laundry and dirty cutlery and whatever. And actually, I think what this last 6 months has forced us in a way to engage and look at other opportunities. And because of that, more parents have become more engaged and they've educated themselves more.
You're very right, Rona. You're very right. And actually, even my son's school set him as his homework for PE during lockdown was to play Just Dance. Video game.
They love that.
Him and his sister had moved everything aside and spent a whole afternoon doing Just Dance. And, that's great. They're a bit of exercise and them doing something fun.
Exactly. And I think
nice.
The more people that can kind of connect with that, and be it from a school, if the schools start doing it, there's the worry that, it becomes uncool. But actually, if a teenager or a child feels understood and connected with its peers, whether that's education or parents, and then suddenly it's not this kind of dirty thing or naughty thing that they do in a corner. It's just everyday life.
Oh, totally. But no, I'm really positive for the games industry. And as I said, we had this amazing conference with Women in Games at the beginning of September, and it's just amazing to see so many people engaged, and it was so lovely to see so many women engaged, and just looking to try and do more of that, get more women in, and
definitely. Well, listen, I'm super excited about the opportunity. I mean, I'll be honest, I was blown away when I heard you say kind of it's bigger than music and film put together. There's a $200 million opportunity. Nearly 50% of all gamers are girls and females. So there's a hugely positive world there for anyone who has daughters. And, let's open our eyes a little bit more, I guess, totally. and kind of go with the flow, be the uncool parent and try and play the game and whatever, and have the Mickey taken out of you, which I do on a regular basis. Listen, I wish you the very best of luck with Women in Games. I'm sure it'll be a huge success and it'll certainly continue to grow. When we launch the podcast, obviously, I'll put any details that you need on there. But as you said, we can find you on Facebook, we can find you on LinkedIn.
Yep, totally.
And if there's any final words of wisdom or advice you'd like to give the listeners.
I don't know. Do I have any more wisdom about it? I don't know. I think, as I said, it's just embrace it. Definitely, as you said, I think embrace technology. I mean, the more we shy away from it, the more, we get scared of it. So I think, particularly with video games, do sit down and play Fortnite with your kids. It's actually quite funny.
I will do. Well, mine aren't there yet, but I've certainly had a go. Minecraft. Awesome. Listen, Lucy, have an amazing weekend, and thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate it. Take care.
Thanks a lot, Rona. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
So that's it. You've made it. The show's over. Thank you for being with us. I hope you've been able to take something away, maybe solve a problem, or just know you're not alone. Here's hoping it made you smile with a few laughs along the way. Please feel free to find me on all social media channels, and you can subscribe to my YouTube channel. Just search the Rona Morel Podcast. Have an awesome day and see you next time.